Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a sec since I recorded, but it may not be a sec since I uploaded, so we'll see how that ends up shaking out. This is movie 4 of the 10 Oscar nominations for Best Picture. We got Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe. Um, it is a movie that is very recent. A lot of these movies came out like in the past couple months, which is really interesting. Of course, Barbie and Oppenheimer didn't, but I feel like some of these came out like fairly towards the end of the year. I wonder if there's any reason to that, or if the Academy just kind of picked those movies that way. I have no idea. Um, so let's talk about Poor Things. Did I like it? Did I not like it? What's going on? What's happening? From the first thing I can tell you is that I don't like period pieces. I can't tell when this is. I don't know if they ever tell you, but it's sometime in the 1800s, maybe early 1900s, if I had to guess. It could also be one of those things where it's like super far in the future. It's definitely science fiction. Guess that's a possibility. I just doubt it. Um, I think the movie is incredibly disturbing. I was disturbed. I watched the first half hour and then I went to lunch and I didn't really eat too much because I was so disturbed by the movie. And let me just say this, I don't like to be disturbed by film. Uh, I may have a interesting perspective on movies, but my perspective on movies is that I should be entertained while watching them. So any way that I could be entertained is really what I want. I'm not a big fan of horror for that sense. I'm not entertained by it. And I'm not entertained by what this is. It's not necessarily a movie for me, and that's just gonna happen sometimes. The characters too, the way that they act, not the way they acted, the way that the script had them act. The actors themselves were actually amazing. The performances in this movie are top notch. But I will say that the script writing itself is interesting and not in a good way. Um, I think at least the director should be locked up. That's a funny note I made. I don't really believe that. I don't know what else the director's done. I don't even know the director's name because I forgot. But I will say that I think that this movie was a little too disturbing. I don't know if I might also just be like really sensitive. I don't know. But there's definitely other people who probably agree with me. So I don't want to sit here and say that I'm not gonna just give the consensus because that's I'm trying to give my opinion. The acting, as I said before, was amazing. Emma Stone was good in the movie. Mark Ruffalo was really good in the movie. Willem Dafoe, my goat, was really, really good in the movie. I hate towards the end of the movie, Bella's about to get married to Max. Bella is Emma Stone's character. Um, and then Max just sort of lets her go off with her former husband, because she basically the premise is that Willem Dafoe's character sort of is like a mad scientist and finds this woman who killed herself and takes the baby that she was pregnant with and like takes that brain and then puts it inside um Bella, or he names her Bella. And so obviously she has a whole life that she left behind. So this husband kind of comes out of nowhere towards the end of the movie, and it just feels very rushed. And they try their best to sort of like show why this happened. Like they have Mark Ruffalo's character, and he's got this huge crush on Bella and kidnaps her, and then she sort of doesn't feel the same way, and then she ends up sort of becoming a prostitute. And I guess that's interesting too. There's a lot of sex scenes in this movie, and none of them are good, or even like at a certain point, it really wasn't necessary, and they just kept doing it. There's like this whole part of the movie that I just don't get, where like this man is like trying to teach his sons how to have sex, and they're both like very much below the age of 18. And again, it's just like, what are we doing? Like, that scene was just not necessary. Like, I watched the whole movie. They don't ever allude to it again. I don't get it. Um, I just hate that she ends up leaving Max to go with her former husband for a bit. There's reasoning behind it. She needs to really understand what her life was before she died, but it was really rushed. Like the way they did was really rushed. This character we hadn't seen yet. They alluded to it earlier, and I could maybe tell you that was going to happen, but honestly, I don't think most people really cared. I feel like it was part of the movie that just kind of happened. It's like, oh, okay, and then obviously that was a bad decision, and then she doesn't really get any consequences from that either. Like it's just hastily written. It's like, oh, we need to finish this movie somehow. Let's just give her a sudden conflict randomly. I hate it. I hate it. And it's a really at that point of the movie, it was actually decent. Like it wasn't like the best movie I've ever watched, but despite its disturbing themes, it would probably be at about a 7 out of 10. And then that moment happens, and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Like this is ridiculous because it's a good movie about self discovery, but then the ending is just it throws you in this like loop of like, oh, that was bad writing. Like, 'cause it just was like I don't even know like it wasn't good. The runtime is 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is a little bit on the longer side, but it's not anything crazy. It's not a super long movie. And like I said before, this movie's thought provoking. It's not that like I understand why people like it. I do. It just isn't gonna work for me because it's not what I want out of movies. And if it's really stellar, it'll break that mold for me, right? There's movies that don't necessarily fully entertain me, but I still love them because they're thought provoking. But this movie just doesn't do it. Like yeah, I have questions, but a lot of the questions are you know how do I like phone the police and let them know that someone somehow sneaked this whole this is a mid-budget movie, but people watch this thing. It grossed almost 100 million, and like tell them like, how do we get people to like stop watching this movie? Because like this is heinous, honestly. I will mention that there is some decent uh LGBTQ representation, and it's obviously like from again like the movie takes place in like the very early times in terms of for me at least because I don't know the 1900 the 1800s seems super far out. But I wouldn't say the lesbian representation is like again it kind of doesn't go anywhere. It's interesting. It's again it's like a little bit more of a self discovery, but like it's not. Once again, I feel like it's just kind of sex for sex's sake. This movie is just too disturbing for me to give it a high rating. Plus, the writing isn't that good, and I really just don't like the last 20 minutes of the movie. It just kind of gets rushed, and it's a little interesting, but it just kind of comes out of nowhere. This is gonna probably end up being last on my list for Oscar nominations. I am willing to give it a 4.3 out of 10. That's probably good enough for me. Um, it's just not that good. And I guess I understand why people like it. If you like it, obviously that is awesome. Thank you for liking something I don't. Like that's good. But I really, this movie was so disturbing, and I am gonna be so happy to never have to watch it again. Again, this isn't the worst movie I've ever watched, and there's plenty of good about it, but eh, the cons heavily outweigh the pros. That's all I've got for you guys. I love you all. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on Poor Things. I believe Oppenheimer's next, but it might not be. The Oscar nominated Best Picture movie is next. So there you go. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.